Hi, boys and girls. I'm going to finish the book that I had started, Mercy Watson's Something Wonky, This Way Comes. So if you remember, Mr. and Mrs. Watson were taking their pig to the movies. And then baby Lincoln, right here, this woman, stopped and asked where they were going, and she said she wanted to go. And her grouchy sister back there, who was Eugenia Lincoln, didn't want to go, but she got in the car anyways. And then maybe a brother and a sister, Stella and Frank, asked if they could go as well. So now they're all headed for the movies. And when we ended, they were there, and Mr. Watson had gone to get some popcorn. The smell of butter was absolutely everywhere. The smell of butter was driving Mercy wild. Where was the butter smell coming from? Mercy thought she would go and investigate. So she's getting out of the convertible car. And a convertible car just means it doesn't have a roof. She leaped out of the convertible. She moved with purpose. Was there anything more heavenly than being hot on the trail of a true butter smell? Mercy did not think so. She trotted faster. Mercy Watson was a pig on a mission. Chapter 8. Hey now, said Alfred P. Tompkins. Speaking of pigs, isn't that a pig right there? Where? Said Francine Poulet. There, said Alfred P. Tompkins. He pointed at the pig that was trotting past the truck. The pig had its snout up in the air. The pig looked very happy. That, said Francine Poulet, is the pig from Decawoo Drive. I have dealt with that pig before. I wonder what a pig is doing at the movie, said Alfred P. Tompkins. That's a good question, said Francine. That's the kind of question that only an animal control officer can answer. Fascinating, said Alfred P. Tompkins. Don't make any sudden movements, said Francine Poulet. She reached into the back of her truck. So an animal control officer is the person that works in town to make sure that dogs are on leashes and that animals are safe. And she said that she has had to deal with this pig before, so I wonder why she's been called to deal with Mercy in the past. But look, she's getting out a net. She grabbed her net. So really it's her night off and she's at the movies, but I wonder what she's going to do. If you want to see an animal control officer in action, said Francine Poulet, follow me. Fascinating, said Alfred P. Tompkins. Simply fascinating. I'm right behind you. So remember, they just went on a date to the movies. Now I guess he's going to watch her in action. Chapter 9. Mercy stopped and she sniffed. The smell of butter was very strong. The smell of butter was very near. The smell of butter was coming from the back seat of a station wagon. That's a kind of car, a big one that fits a lot of people. Mercy stuck her head in the window. She sniffed again. The smell of butter was coming from an extremely large bucket in the hands of a very small child. Mercy helped herself. Oh no, look at the little girl. The small child screamed, "Papa! Papa! A monster is eating my popcorn!" Mercy chewed. The popcorn was drenched in butter. It was delicious. A man stuck his face in Mercy's snout. "What do you think you're doing?" the man said. What did Mercy think she was doing? She thought she was enjoying a buttery snack. "Get out of there!" shouted the man. He gave Mercy a very forceful shove. Popcorn went flying everywhere. Mercy thought that perhaps it was time to move on. Good idea. Chapter 10. In the front row of the Bayou Drive, in the drive-in, Officer Tomilello sat up straight in his seat. Officer Tomilello said, "Did you hear that?" Mrs. Officer Tomilello said, "Nothing." "Was that a scream of distress?" said Officer Tomilello. "It sounded like a scream of distress," he answered himself. "Is someone in trouble?" Officer Tomilello asked. Mrs. Officer Tomilello said, "Nothing." It is very possible that someone is in trouble, Officer Tomilello answered himself. Is it time for an officer of the law to step in? Officer Tomilello asked. There's no pictures here, but this man, he asks himself questions and he answers the questions himself. Most definitely, he answered. Officer Tomilello put his badge around his neck. He got his bullhorn from the back seat. He kissed Mrs. Officer Tomilello goodbye. He said, "Am I off to make the world a safer place?" "I am," he answered himself. "I am most definitely off to make the world a safer place." Mrs. Officer Tomilello waved goodbye. So he's going to go find out where that yelling is coming from. Chapter 11. Mercy discovered that there was hot buttered popcorn everywhere. Every car had big buckets of popcorn. Every car had open windows. The popcorn was buttery. The popcorn was crunchy. The popcorn was delicious. So you can see the rows of cars now. Mercy helped herself. She helped herself again and again. People screamed. People laughed. People fainted. Mercy kept eating. They're all having different reactions, huh? In the meantime, Mr. Watson and Frank returned to the convertible with several bottomless buckets of popcorn. Mrs. Watson was crying. "My darling, my dear," said Mr. Watson, "what is wrong?" "It's a tragedy," said Mrs. Watson. "I wouldn't exactly call it a tragedy," said Eugenia Lincoln. "Mercy is missing," said Stella. "Don't worry," said Mr. Watson. "We'll find her." "I'll wait here if you don't mind," said Eugenia Lincoln. She helped herself to some hot buttered popcorn. Chapter 12. Leroy Ninka heard people screaming about monsters. Leroy Ninka heard people shouting about pigs. Leroy Ninka saw a woman with a net run past the concession stand. "What are you going to catch?" said Leroy Ninka. "A pig," said the woman with the net. "A pig?" said Leroy Ninka. "That's right," said the woman. "You're not going to catch livestock with a net," said Leroy Ninka. "What you need is a lasso." Yippee-yi-oh! Mr. Watson and Mrs. Watson and Stella and Frank and Baby shouted, "Mercy! Mercy! Mercy!" "Should you remain calm?" Officer Tomilello asked. "You most definitely should remain calm." So it looks like it's getting a little crazy there. Everybody's looking for mercy. At the ticket counter, Beatrice Leah Pellioni took her glasses off and put them back on. "Wonky," said Beatrice Leah Pellioni. "Wonky in the extreme. Maybe it's some kind of emergency. Maybe I should call for help." Beatrice Leah Pellioni adjusted her glasses. She picked up the phone. Beatrice Leah Pellioni dialed the fire department. Chapter 13. Mercy was having a wonderful time. She had consumed a large amount of buttered popcorn, and now people were chasing after her. Mercy loved to chase. She ran faster. She kicked up her heels. "Gotcha!" shouted Francine Poulette. Francine Poulette netted Officer Tomilello. "Yippee-yi-yo!" shouted Leroy Ninka. He lassoed Francine Poulette. "Fascinating," said Alfred P. Tompkins. "Simply fascinating." So she didn't get the pig, did she? There was the sound of a siren. There was the flash of lights. A fire truck pulled into the Bijou. "Things seem to be out of control," said the fireman named Ned. "It's the movie," said the fireman named Lorenzo. "They make people crazy." "Actually," said a man who was standing next to Ned, "I think the pig is making people crazy." "Holy smokes! I know that pig," said Lorenzo. "It's that toast-loving pig from Decawoo Drive." I'll tell you, said the man standing next to Ned. This is way better than any movie I've ever seen. It's all been fascinating. Simply fascinating. I guess it's time for us to come to the rescue, said Ned. We should do what only firemen can do, said Lorenzo. Ned and Lorenzo took off running. Ned and Lorenzo ran very fast. Ned and Lorenzo caught up with Mercy. Hey, said Ned, how's about some toast? Yes, said Lorenzo, how's about some toast with a great deal of butter? So now they think they can stop Mercy by asking her if she wants to have her favorite snack. Mercy stopped running. Mercy sat down. Mercy thought very hard. Toast sounded like an excellent idea to her. Toast always sounded like an excellent idea to her. Ned sat down next to Mercy. He put his arm around her. So it's working, huh? Oh, said Mrs. Watson, you found her. How will we ever be able to thank you for helping us locate our darling, our dear, said Mr. Watson. Well, said Ned, I'm a little hungry. Toast would be good, said Lorenzo. Toast, said Mrs. Watson. I would love to make some toast. Who else would like some toast? Just a picture, no words. Look at all that toast. Do you see the stack of it? And there's more over here. We never did get to see that movie, said Stella. I wonder if it ended happily, said Frank. Well, said Mrs. Watson, here we are, all of us together. And we're all eating toast, said Mr. Watson. I can't imagine a happier ending than that, said Mr. Watson. It's the happiest possible ending, said Baby Lincoln. It's almost like a love story. It is a love story, said Mr. Watson, and it's very inspirational, said Mrs. Watson. Look how happy they are. The end. Bye.